Yeah. Mic check, mic check. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2 for you. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Word up.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Theology Matters. I'm your host, Devin Pallou, and actually will not be joined with my lovely co-host, my wife. She is off taking care of the baby today, so it'll just be me, and we actually have a couple of guests that are coming up, and we'll jump to that in just a moment. But I wanted to remind everybody, go to facebook.com/Theology Matters with the Palloos. It's facebook.com/Theology Matters with the Palloos, and you'll be able to access, we put articles up through the week. You'll be able to find our podcasts on through the week, where we've done, numerous shows. We've had some pretty prominent guests on. We've had Dr. Norm Geisler. He came on and actually gave his testimony of how he became a Christian. It's really fascinating if you've not heard it. We've also had philosopher and apologist Paul Copan, who's written several books and done several debates, and he came on, and we did a whole thing for about an hour and a half, going over objections to the Christian faith. And I had a pretty lively discussion between him and an atheist that had called in. So we got a lot of good shows. We've got some former debates we've done with Roman Catholics and Protestant on Sola Scriptura, as well as Mormon and a Protestant on the view of God. So be sure to check out our Facebook pages. We have some good stuff with that. First, I wanted to bring on a friend of mine. We've done this a while back where we've been bringing on people that we know who've influenced us, and good friends, people that we know are solid, and have them kind of talk about how they came to know Christ, what they're doing in their ministry right now, and exactly how theology and apologetics plays an important part in their lives. So my friend, his name is Father Thomas Gordon. He works at St. Andrew's Theological College and Seminary, and he is part of the Orthodox Anglican Church, and he leads the St. Philip the Evangelist Anglican Church. And you can find more about that if you're in the Charlotte area at charlotteanglican.org. Father Gordon, are you there?
Yes. Hello, Devin. How are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm grateful to be on your show and excited to talk to you. I'm the rector at St. Philip the Evangelist Anglican Church here in Charlotte, and I also serve the National Church as a suffragan bishop, and I work, spend most of my time during the week with St. Andrews, so you got everything just perfect.
Great, and you're married, right? And you have kids?
Married and have 3 sons. They're growing up quickly. I got a couple of them in college, and one still in high school. So.
Oh, wonderful! That is great. And we met actually. I met you through my wife, Melissa Pallou. She's she thinks an awful lot of you. You guys actually met, I believe, through 40 Days for Life. Is that correct?
Yeah. The 40 Days for Life campaign, we've, as a parish, been involved with that and been out there praying at the local abortion clinics. And so I think the world of Melissa, and just think the world of what you folks are doing, both whether it's in the pro-life work here in town or the apologetics ministries here in town. And I tell you, I think if we had some more people like you in town, we could take over this town.
Oh, well, thanks, Father Gordon. We appreciate that. Kind words. So I thought we'd start maybe with you kind of telling us about your life, growing up and how you came to know the Lord. Did you grow up in a Christian home, or?
Yeah, I grew up in a very Christian home. My mother was a Christian school teacher at a Fundamentalist Baptist Christian school, and my father was an evangelical Presbyterian minister in north central Pennsylvania. So I was baptized as a covenant child, and I made a public profession of faith at 5 years old. A woman named Mrs. Peacock used to have a Bible club up the road. There was a trailer park up the road, and she used to have a Bible club for young children, and that's where I made a public profession of faith at a very young age, and been, living my entire life as a Christian. And I know many times we make a big deal out of people who have dramatic conversions, but I think God's people need to be very grateful for the children that are brought up in the faith and nurtured in the faith, and we should not downplay that at all.
Absolutely, I think you're right on point with that. It's all a work of sovereign grace for sure. Whether God resurrects someone from the dead who died old or a baby, it's still no less a miracle.
Absolutely.
So, I'm curious, how exactly did you get into the ministry?
Well, it's kind of, that's a very long story. When I was a senior in high school, I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do, and I visited Cedarville University, which is a Baptist college in Ohio, and I just fell in love with the place because of, whether it was in the chapel services or in the classes, they took the Bible seriously. They studied the Bible seriously and took it seriously, and I wanted to go someplace and learn the Bible the way these people knew the Bible. And so that was a big and important step for me. And at about 18 or 19 years of age, I really did feel a call to ministry. But I did feel what shall I say, very young and inadequate to be doing that type of thing. And so that did go by the wayside. I entered military service and served in the first Gulf War, got married, had 3 children. Life intervened for a good number of years, but that call never went away. For me, Luke 12:48, for unto whosoever much is given, of him shall much be required, really weighed heavy on me over the years, and I felt like I should be doing something with all that God had given me, all the instruction and things I'd learned, and that I really should be doing something with those. And finally, the Lord gave me the grace to get started back on the path. And so after about a 10-year delay, I got serious about pursuing the ministry again, went back to school, and that took a good number of years, but I was very pleased when I was finally ordained. And I was about 40 years old when I was ordained, so there had definitely been a lot of intervening. One of the things when I first started, in my interest in pursuing the ministry, I told you I sort of hesitated because I was immature. But the good news is that being older, I'd had more exposure to some of the problems that face the American church, and I began to develop some real convictions, based on Scripture, what the church should be doing and what the church should be emphasizing in this age to counteract the problems that the church is having. And I think one of those areas is exactly what you're doing, the area of basic Christian apologetics. as you go out there and you start to share your faith and talk to people and even talk to Christians, it becomes so hard to have even any sort of theological discussion, even with Christians, because so many of them just don't even know the most basic doctrines of the faith.
Right.
Like the Trinity, for example. This coming Sunday on the church calendar is Trinity Sunday, but so many Christians don't even know the doctrine of the Trinity, and that means that they really don't even know the God that they say that they worship, and the God that they love. And so, apologetics is something that was really something that I feel, as I went into ministry, that I needed to emphasize. And the other area was in worship itself. And for me personally, when I would look at and read the writings of the church, go back to the time of the Reformation, people like Father Martin Luther, John Calvin, or Archbishop Cranmer, the people today who claim to be the heirs of these reformers, they have worship services that bear little or no resemblance to the worship of their forefathers. And this is where there's a disconnect, because I don't believe that's an accident, this area of a lack of knowledge of basic Christian doctrine and the change in Christian worship.
Right.
And I believe the traditional worship forms of Christianity reinforce those basic Christian doctrines.
Amen, yes. I find that so frustrating. I find it so frustrating when talking with other believers who just, they have no idea what the creeds are. They think they're absolutely worthless. They're not important. They're dead. They just, that was one of the things I've visited your church a few times. I just love the style of worship, the emphasis on the creeds. I love the liturgical style service. I think they're so important, because as you're doing, the creeds, and I've heard it said before, the creeds are like a fence that safeguards the church and keeps heresy out. When you're repeating the creeds and you're learning the creeds, then you're going to learn about God. You're going to learn theology. You're going to learn doctrine. And you're not going to be able to help but to know the doctrine of the Trinity.
Yeah. We use, for example, we use the Apostles' Creed at our daily prayer services, and then for our Eucharistic services, our Sunday communion services, we always say the Nicene Creed, and then a few times a year, we'll break out the Athanasian Creed. Like this Sunday, we'll say the Athanasian Creed, and so they're important guardrails, and it's not just enough to be exposed to them. Continually bringing them before God's people is important. They're guardrails on the faith.
I think that is absolutely right. Tell us a little bit about the Anglican Church and the specific denomination you're in. I know there's probably a wide variety. One of the Anglicans I love, I can't get enough of his work, is J.C. Ryle. I just love his work and his books. Talk to us a little bit about what the Anglican Church is, or whatever you feel is relevant to the conversation on that.
Sure. Well, when we talk about the Anglican Church, we're talking about those churches which grew out of the Church of England. Their Christianity came very early to the British Isles. Some of the first councils of the church, where there were representatives from the British Isles there. So the Church of England goes back, almost 2 millennia. And, of course, many people think of the Church of England with reference to either Henry VIII or Queen Elizabeth I and the Reformation and the break with the Roman Catholic Church. But Anglicanism is mainly centered around the worship of the Book of Common Prayer, worship from the Book of Common Prayer. To practice the faith according to the Book of Common Prayer is to be an Anglican. In the last century, people have tried to redefine that, but that's really what it is. And what we see happening here in the United States, many churches have split into many different denominations, but that was not the case with Anglicans here in the United States. Until you get to the 1960s, there was only one substantial break from the Episcopal Church here in the United States, and that was the Reformed Episcopal Church. And then the second to break from the Episcopal Church here in the United States was the Orthodox Anglican Church. We were founded in March of 1964, and so we will next year celebrate our 50th anniversary. At that point in time, you had Bishop Pike, who was the bishop of the Episcopal Church out in California, and he was denying all sorts of basic fundamental parts of the Christian faith, things like the virgin birth, etc. And the bishops of the Episcopal Church were unwilling to discipline him, and a number of Episcopalians at the time felt that that is apostasy, and that they needed to break with the Episcopal Church. And so that's how our church was founded. And, of course, the Episcopal Church has gone from bad to worse since then. And like many other traditions, there have been other churches founded since ours was founded. When they started ordaining women, there was a whole other group of churches that left, and when they consecrated a gay bishop, a whole other group of churches left. So there are a number of Anglican churches out there who are not aligned with the Episcopal Church or the Archbishop of Canterbury these days.
Just curious, because I know a lot of people, when they see an Anglican church, thinks it like Catholicism. What are the differences between, for instance, your church and the typical Roman Catholic Church?
Well, with a traditional Anglican church, what you're going to find is that many of the worship forms and things seem very Catholic. And by that I mean Roman Catholic. But if you're careful to look at the words are carefully shaped. For example, there are prayers in a Roman Catholic Mass that obviously do not fit with Protestant theology. That is not true with the traditional forms of the Book of Common Prayer. And we use the 1928 Book of Common Prayer and also the 1662 Book of Common Prayer. So what you have is something that is a very traditional service, which to a modern Protestant would look very Roman Catholic. But our doctrine is Protestant. It is Reformed Catholicism, if you will. We like to say that we practice the faith without Roman Catholic additions or Protestant subtractions. And so that's pretty much where we stand on that. The emphasis on our particular jurisdiction is on presenting Christ in word and sacrament. There are many places out there where you can go and attend a very beautiful liturgical service, but you're not likely to hear the faithful preaching of the word. And there are many churches out there where you're likely to hear a good sermon, but it is essentially a lecture, that there's not any real worship going on, praising God for his acts and attributes. And, people will say, they'll sing about bowing the knee to Christ, but they never do literally bow the knee to Christ. And so in our worship services, they're very, it's hard to fall asleep in one of our services because you're kneeling or you're praying or you're standing. You're doing something all the time. It's not a spectator sport. You're not there to hear a lecture. You're involved in worship.
I like that. Yeah, I do. I think you make some definitely some valid points. So, in wrapping up, got about a minute or so left. Tell us the need. What do you see as the need for the church today? What are some of the pressing issues that you see today for the church? And how can we stem the tide, or how do we correct it?
Well, I believe that one of the things is one of the emphasis of your ministry, and that is to give people the tools for encountering the world. I know when my oldest son, he's a senior, he's a rising senior at a state university. When in the year or two before he went off to college, I would give him apologetics books, most of them popular works, but some of them scholarly works, and he would actually read them. And so as he goes off to college and encounters the onslaught against the Christian worldview that you find on the college campus today, he was ready for that. And we need to do the same with all of our children that we're teaching, but also adults. They need to know what the challenges are going to be, and they need to be prepared for them. Setting expectations it's an very important thing, and giving them the tools. And so we need to be doing that across the board. And whether it's providing people apologetics materials, books, or lectures, debates, or documentaries, or whatever it is, it needs to be something that we're constantly working on. And the other is, again, going back to practice of the church. I think, simple things like the doctrine of the Trinity in a traditional Anglican service, the doctrine of the Trinity and things like that are reinforced over and over and over and over again.
Wow.
And I think the liturgy itself is a powerful tool in reinforcing orthodoxy. It's not foolproof, but it is a very important tool. It served the church well for many, 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 many years, and I think while we can improve on many of the things we do, we need to be careful not to throw the baby out with the bathwater. And
right.
Think we're smarter than all our forefathers put together.
Well, that's very well said. Give us the website for your church, and maybe the times and that you guys hold service, so people in the area can come check you out.
Sure. St. Philip's Church is here in Charlotte, and it's at 2908 Oakwood Drive here in Charlotte. And that is really close to almost anywhere in the city of Charlotte because it's near the intersection of I-85 and I-77. You get off 85 at Statesville Road, go 1 mile to the north and hang a left on Oakwood, and we're on Oakwood. So it's easy to get to, and the website is charlotteanglican.org, and the Orthodox Anglican Church's website is orthodoxanglican.net. And we'd love to see folks out to visit, and we're always happy to have visitors, and you don't need to be worried about attending the service because it can be intimidating if you've never been to a service like that, but we're happy to have visitors and allow them to check it out and see what it is we do, and I'm more than happy to explain what it is we do. So.
Well, great, Father Gordon. I really appreciate you coming on, and I'd like to have you back on in the future, and maybe we could do a teaching on some theology, some theological aspects.
Absolutely, I'd love that. I'm always happy to help you folks out any way I can, and God bless you for all your work here, whether it's in the pro-life cause or your apologetics ministry. Those are two things that are very dear to my heart, and you folks are definitely dear to my heart, and God bless you and bless your ministry.
I appreciate that, Father Gordon, and we'll be in touch, and we'll get you back on the show. Say hello to the family for us.
I will do that. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, folks, that's a good friend of mine, good man, and does a lot of stuff with the gospel. He's out there standing in front of the abortion clinic, praying, sometimes all by himself. And, he loves God and he loves people. And we definitely need more men like that. So what I'm going to do right now, at 6:30, I'm going to go ahead and take a break, a short commercial break.